I'm so glad to hear all of that, and it sounds like we have a range of ages and mixes and breeds, so that's great. And I definitely do want to hear your questions at the end, or if you have a question as we go, you can shout out and I'll answer it. I'll say, well, I'm coming to that in a minute. So I'm Rebecca Mason. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to make sure in the back there, way in the back, you know, you can hear me. I've been training since 2006, so 14 years as of May of last year. I have 2 dogs. I had 3. One was Ringo as well. He passed in March at 15. My other 2 are 15 and 16. So I'm the senior dog mama now, but it has put such a place in my heart for senior dogs. I think I will always have senior dogs now and adopt senior dogs from people like you guys because I love them so much. I'm a mom. I'm a homeschool mom and a business lady running my training program. We have 5 locations around Birmingham and a team of 7 trainers, both head trainers and assistant trainers like Anthony and Meredith, who you guys have met. I'm so blessed to have this job. I love it so much. I started learning at PetSmart, like a lot of dog trainers in America, and went on from there and was mentored by more and more people. I was blessed to have wonderful mentors who really encouraged me and helped me grow and learn. And now I've done that for Anthony, who was a student. I don't know if he told you that.
Yes, he did.
Just a few years ago, he was a student too. I was also a teacher. I have a master's in education, so I love to teach. So I love stuff like this, where I get to educate people, because so many of our students come in thinking, fix this dog, fix this dog. And I'm like, but we have to fix you too, because it's so much of our preconceived notions, either from just how we think it should be, or what someone's told us, or our childhood dogs were so perfect, or our senior dogs were so perfect, and now I got this 3-month-old, oh my God, help me. I think we have so many unrealistic expectations. And half of a good dog trainer to me is teaching you, okay, yes, we do need to fix this, but a dog is not a robot. You're never going to have 100%, even a service dog. And helping people to see that expectations in some situations are not realistic, and how to reframe them and go, okay, given this situation, what can we expect, and how can we grow the knowledge of the dog from there? So in talking with Alicia about doing this series of seminars, our next one will be February 28th with Anthony on leash training. It'll be here, check it out. In talking with her about doing these, I started thinking about, well, what would be interesting to people, or what are some of the common questions people ask me that keep coming up, or preconceived notion type things. So I said, well, let's talk about myths, things that people hear on TV and they think it's true, or their friend told them on Facebook. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right? Y'all ready? All right, let's do it. All right. So, first myth that I hear a lot of the time when I say I do positive dog training, people will say, I don't know, does that namby-pamby, girly training stuff really work? And often it comes from older gentlemen who say, well, I'm not going to give my dog a cookie. He should just do it because I said so. Well, let's think about this. If you said, Rebecca, I want you to come and help me clean out my garage this weekend. And I said, okay. And you said, but I'm not going to pay you anything. I just want you to come do it. I'd probably not be very excited about that. But if you bought me pizza or took me to dinner or paid me, I'd probably love to do that, right? Dogs don't work for free. We don't either. So I think to expect a dog to do it is really not very fair. That doesn't mean that you're going to need a treat to get him to sit for the next 15 years of his life. But if your dog realizes that there will be no more rewards, then you will not have that behavior anymore either. And so it's a dance of finding a reinforcement schedule, as we call it, of how frequently we need to reward, when we should reward, what types of things we should reward. Often I tell people, if you're alone in your house and you tell your dog to sit and she sits, just pet her if she likes to be petted. One of my dogs does not like to be petted. That would not make her want to sit again. But if you ask your dog to sit at Doodah Day with 400 dogs and 1,000 people, and she looked around and looked around and looked around, and at first she didn't, but then she did, treat that. That was really hard for her. There were a lot of distractions. There were moving distractions, smells, sounds, and she did it anyway. So no, you may not need to treat every sit at your house by yourself with your dog, but if it's hard or if it's brand new, you need to do that. And there are different types of reinforcers. It doesn't have to just be food. Again, it can be good petting, scratching, belly rubs, butt scratches, toys. Toys are a wonderful way to tug with your dog when they come to you. After they do a stay and you release them, tug with the dog. And positive, let's talk about what that means too. It doesn't mean permissive. It doesn't mean you just get to do whatever and I'm going to let you rip up my couch and not say anything about it. But it's about realistic expectations, managing the situation, redirecting the dog, and then teaching something that will work to prevent that the next time. But before we talk more about that, I want to talk about, well, here's an example first actually. Positive dog training. So this is Meredith, who you know. Meredith has 5 pit bull mixed dogs, and she is this big, soaking wet. Meredith has trained all of these dogs to walk with her at one time. Here's 3 of them in a public place with cars. And she has not used any type of force, prong collars, choke collars, shock collars, none of that stuff at all. It's pretty much something to see. Good job. Then she's going to stop and cue him to sit, and these 2 are like, boom, and Elsie's like, okay. But again, I would still reward that because she had the distraction of 2 of her sisters, brothers, and then the outdoors, right? So I just want to say too, it doesn't matter what kind of dog your dog is, your dog can still be trained positively. She has 5 pits, all positive training. Just because they're a big, strong dog doesn't mean you have to use brute force with the dog. Okay. So this is something most just pet owners have never seen or thought about. But when you become a dog trainer, this is one of the first things that you should be taught. All right, we're going to go through some examples. When I say I am a positive trainer, what I mean is I use the top left, I use positive reinforcement, which goes with negative punishment. Negative punishment sounds horrible. It's not. We're going to talk about what it actually is scientifically speaking. So positive reinforcement. Positive means I added something. Negative means I took something away. Reinforcement means I want that behavior to happen more. Punishment means I want that behavior to happen less. So positive reinforcement, I added something to make a behavior happen more. So my dog sat, I gave a treat, he's more likely to do that. That's what people typically think of with positive reinforcement. Now, negative punishment, which is the other acceptable method, means I remove something to make a behavior less likely to happen. My dog is pulling on a walk. Whose dog likes to pull? I know you're going to say it because we're talking about it. So your dog is pulling. The thing I'm going to remove is me walking forward in order to make the pulling less likely to occur. That is negative punishment. Okay? I removed the walking. I stopped walking when he pulled to make him come back to me and quit pulling. And he's going to realize if I keep doing this in conjunction with that when he pulls and I'm going to stop, we're not going to get to keep going. But if he comes back here, he's going to get cookies. And if he stays with me, he's going to get more cookies. We're not just going to treat, we're going to use focus and redirection and all kinds of cool stuff too. So these top left or bottom right, they go together. The other 2, to me, are completely unacceptable methods of training. Because I think that it borders on abuse a lot of the time, for sure. Positive punishment, adding something to make a behavior less likely to occur. Your dog jumps, you hit him. You've added the hit to discourage the jumping. I would not do that. Negative reinforcement is kind of hard to explain. So it's the removal of something to make something more likely to occur. And it goes with positive punishment. So a lot of trainers, not me, if a dog has something in their mouth and they don't want them to have it, they will step on their toes. And when the dog releases the toy, they will remove the stepping to make that happen. So again, not something I would use. Easily abused. And very confusing, I think, to the dog. I don't think it's very clear what is happening. So top left, bottom right, that is what I would call a positive trainer. And that's what we do. So, our myth that positive training doesn't work. Really what we do is we set you and your dog up to succeed, okay? So this means realistic expectations, which most people just don't have. And I think it's a lot of the time because it's a new pet owner, or again, they had a previous dog who was just the perfect angel and they didn't really have to do any training. Has anybody had a dog like that where you didn't really have to do much? They're pretty good. Yeah, my mom's dog's like that. She doesn't bark, doesn't cause any problems. She's like a cat. Got the size of a cat too. So realistic expectations are hugely dependent on the age of the dog, the amount of training the dog has had. Okay, so Meredith used this in one of her slideshows and it slayed me. This is what you have.
That's where Sophie is.
Yeah, that's where they are. So up until 4 months, nobody comes to training usually because their dog is just perfect and he sleeps a lot and he's so cute. And every time you call him to come, he comes because you're the only thing in his whole life, right? And he's just so happy to see you. But, we hit 4 months and we're a velociraptor. And we're gonna be a velociraptor until at least 18 months, bare minimum. More like 24 and for some dogs longer. So this is where we get people and they go, help me, I'm a velociraptor. And they say, I want him to quit jumping now. And I say, well, when he gets here, he will be capable of that. This is not capable of that. So how are we going to manage this and start instilling good behaviors so that when we get here, we will have that, okay? A puppy who is nipping your hands and is 5 months old, you can redirect and redirect. Some people will hit their dog. I would not do that. That makes hands aggressive and scary. But you can keep doing it and you're gonna be doing it. Till here. It gets a lot better sooner. The jumping is the hardest one, I think. So age is just a huge piece of it. It's a huge piece of it. All right. So when we talk about behaviors that are frequently complained about, barking out the window, jumping on us when people come in or when we're trying to eat, right? Really the first thing is, okay, how can we physically stop this right now and prevent it from being even possible, okay? So if you have a dog barking out the window who is really relentless about it, you could say, okay, well maybe he needs to not have access to that window. Maybe I need a gate a few feet back. Maybe I need to pull the blinds down or put some butcher paper or reflective paper on the window. Because if you already have a habit, like the barking or jumping on people when they come in, if they keep doing it, no matter how much training you're doing, it's being reinforced because they bark and the car goes away and they're like, score, I made that happen, I'm gonna do that again. Especially when it's a scary UPS guy or pizza guy, right? And if it's someone coming in, they run and they jump on the person and what happens? All this attention. Mom's going, no, stop that, come over here. Oh. And the person's going, I don't care. Or they're like, oh, get off of it, oh. And it's just, this is play to them and it's attention. Even if it's meant in a different way, it's attention. So we have to say, how can we make this impossible for the dog to do this? So with things like jumping on people, the dog needs to be on a leash when someone comes over, or behind a barrier, or in a crate, or tethered to the banister. I would not tether them to your couch, because your couch may go across the room with the dog. That has happened. So tethering is a great choice. And then giving them something like a bone or a stuffed Kong to keep them busy so they're not just obsessively worried about this person. Once the person comes in and sits down, and the owner can toss the dog treats when they take a breath, you don't even have to sit. If they just go, I would toss a treat for that. Reward what you like, good choices that they make, okay? So with the window, first thing is prevention, right? How can I prevent my dog from reaching that window? Maybe I'm gonna gate off that room, and then I'm gonna teach him a solid recall so that he comes when I call him, and then I would do it on a leash, where he's closer to the window but not right up to it, and I practice him coming to me from here. And then I would do it from closer, and if he can't come, I can pick up the leash and run with him. So you gotta set him up to succeed by the presence of the leash so that you can help him out. Because expecting a dog to come away from the window, if he barely knows what come is not fair. It is not reasonable. So redirecting is a huge part of that. And then training distractions gradually. This takes a lot of time. So in the meantime, until we have a really good come away from a distraction, I just need to train come without the distraction, and I need to prevent and manage this situation with the window. All family members must be on the same page. You're not going to get anywhere if they're not. It will take so much longer, okay? Consistently have to practice. That doesn't mean 1 day a week. It means at least 4 days a week, bare minimum, right? And having consistent cues. If mom says come and dad says come here, that's not the same to the dog. If mom says come like this and dad says come like this, that's not the same. It has to be the same, as close as possible. Because like your voice and your voice are not going to sound the same. So the closer we can make it, the better and more clear for the dog. And really what it comes down to is, if you make the training fun, they're going to want to do it. The way we do it, you know, when we teach touch, we're like running with that and making them want to come to us. If your come is come, I wouldn't want to come to that. And it means they're going to walk up like, oh God. And that's not what we want. That's not a dog that's going to do what you need to in an emergency or in a pinch. That's just not going to work. Here are two of our sweet babies practicing settling on your mat while someone eats or prepares food. This is something we teach in our impulse control class, and this is on week 5, I believe. The dog on the left is older. He's about 3, 4. So he would be able to stay longer than the dog on the right, who is about 8 months. She's in the velociraptor phase. So for her to do this, I would have a lower expectation. I wouldn't expect her to settle for 3 minutes. I might be happy with 30 seconds. And I would work up to that, okay? So again, even though they've had the same number of weeks of training, he's older than her. And then you have to take into account temperament. She's much more excitable than he's her calmer dog. So many things. This is the big one. Being the alpha. Who has ever heard you gotta be the alpha? Yes. This, I feel like, is the most controversial, hot button topic in the dog training world. There are 2 very, very distinct camps on this. One camp does a lot of research. That's my camp. I believe in research. I believe in getting the facts and the science behind dog training. It is definitely an art, but it is also definitely science. And what it comes down to is, you are not a dog. You will never be a dog. Your dog is fully aware that you are not a dog. You cannot be the alpha. You also cannot be the alpha because when you have your dogs who are not related and are not wolves living in your home, they're still not an alpha. Hierarchy, as we know it, is fluid. Let's talk about what I mean by that. People will swear to me, oh, my male dog, he's just the alpha. He's the alpha of the house. And they have safe word dogs. It is incredibly rare for one dog to always receive priority access to a resource. Dominance is priority access to a resource, meaning if there's a bowl of food and there are 2 dogs, who's going to get it? Okay? At my house, when it comes to toys, if my female wants a toy and my male dog is anywhere near it, she will bark at me and bark at him, and he will go and lay on it.
Oh.
And she'll be like, do you see this? Who's getting the toy? He is. But if I put food down, he backs away and she takes the food. Hierarchy is fluid. You may feel like this dog is definitely here all the time, and these dogs are definitely here all the time, but as time goes by, you will have this almost all the time. And that's when you start to have infighting. Because it's not fluid, because they're not related, they're not dogs, and you're not a dog. I mean, they're not wolves, and you're not a dog or a wolf, okay? So please keep this in mind. And you may start to notice after talking about this, things like this. Well, you know, normally she does that, but he did that. Huh. It's pretty interesting. So, I thought you had a question. So I think a lot of abuse is done to dogs in the name of dominance. Because of this whole alpha myth, I gotta be the alpha, people feel like they need to physically roll or pin their dogs or hit their dogs, or if the dog chews on their hand, that they should grab the snout and hold it, or that they should scruff the dog. Here's what happens with this. Your dog has you to teach them about how people are. However you are with them is how they're going to start to see other people. If you are constantly grabbing and shaking your dog or rolling your dog and intimidating your dog, over time, it's reasonable that this dog is going to go, whew, those 2-leggeds, they're kind of scary, okay? Another thing that I see a lot is people who do pop their dog for nipping on their hands or grab their snout or scruff them, those dogs become very afraid of hands. And this is the most dangerous thing you could teach a dog, is that hands are weapons. Because what happens when your neighbor's kid comes in there and sticks their hand down there? When you meet a dog, everybody goes like this. Hey, they stick their hand out there. A lot of dogs are really hand shy because of bad things happening to them with hands. Just stand there with your hand down and let the dog come to you. If they come to you, they're curious about you. That still doesn't mean they may want you to pet them. You have to look at their body language to determine that. But you never want to go out to them. That's scary for most dogs, but especially if they've been hit, so we never want to do that. Hands are not weapons, but they're also not toys. Don't let them sit there and chew on your hands. Remove your hand, put something else in their mouth. Okay? Dogs are faster than us. If they want to bite you, they're going to bite you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's why the way we treat them and handle them is so important, or you're going to have a weapon living in your home, and we don't want that. So what does this teach them when we do those things that we use force with them? I think it teaches them, again, that you're scary, and they honestly just shut down. A lot of dogs, you'll see it, it's called a tap out, when dogs are scared by, like, you see it a lot with, like, another dog, but with people too, they'll just roll on their belly and be kind of like, oh my God, and they'll tuck their tail up over their privates. And some people will go, oh, he's showing his belly, it's so cute. But if you look at their face and their tail, you can tell the difference between this and this. You can see it in their eyes. Are their ears back? Are their ears natural? Where's their tail tucked? And if they look scared, it's a tap out. It's going, please God, just don't kill me. I'll just do whatever you want. And you see that a lot. And it's often called submissive behavior or compliant behavior, as if it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. And honestly, using force with a dog is just, it doesn't teach them what you want. That's the thing. People will be like, no, stop it. But they don't teach the dog what you do want in that situation. They knee him on the chest, they push him off, get off me, but how about let's teach him to go settle on your place when someone comes over? How about let's teach him when I'm eating, go settle at your place? There's so many other things. If you just teach them what you do want, they will do it. It's not like they don't want to please you. They want to please you. They just don't know what you want. Be an advocate. Don't be an alpha. One of the handouts you have, it was the last one, the black and white, is a handout by the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior on what dominance actually is. I think it will genuinely shock you, some of what you've been told compared to the facts and the science. So go home, read it, tell a friend. It's really interesting. Don't believe everything you see on the internet or Facebook. They're a reputable, credible source. Any questions before we go on? Probably have questions starting.
I have a question
Sure.
about specifically with like the training to when somebody comes over.
Yeah.
If you've got multiple dogs, I assume they probably need individual training as you're developing a skill. But,
Yes, that's what's so hard with multiples, yeah.
But do you try to train them like during the same time period, or do you perfect it with one and then move on to the next one?
I don't think you have to perfect it with one. I feel like that would take so much longer to do 1, 2, 3. I would say, honestly, I tell people train 15 minutes at a time and never more than that. 15.
Okay.
And work on 2 or 3 things in that 15. Because dogs are like kids with ADD. And they're like, look at the leaf, you know. So short, and I would do 15 minutes on a couple of things with one dog, then do it with the next dog and the next, and put the others out of the room. And if they're not great at craving, you could do box fan for noise, Kongs, peanut butter, something, or have another person stand across the room and work with that dog while you're working with this dog, if you have one that can't handle being put up away from the others. That's something we see a lot, and I'll say, but if you put him up, he's going to scream, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to work on that too. But you can have 2 handlers practicing in the same room too. But yeah, I would start them all and get them going. Did you need something?
No, I just wanted to observe.
Oh, great, yeah, come on. Anybody else?
I have, it's a problem. Every night, my husband and I have our lazy boys, right? I'm in mine, he's in his. Well, every night about 9 o'clock, and she usually goes to bed at 10. She will, all of a sudden, she's been sleeping all evening.
Uh-huh.
Probably on his legs or my legs. Then at 9:30 or not between then, she will look at me real bright. She will jump up on me, and first she'll paw me. She's real happy. She'll paw me. And then she gets more and more aggressive, and her teeth are all over me. I don't know. I don't know what she wants. Does she want to go to bed? I don't know what to do with her. When
That's interesting. At what time, roughly? 9:30?
Between 9 and 9:30 it
Okay.
starts.
So a couple of things you could do. She's either, a lot of dogs get the zoomies at night. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
It's like a zoomie.
It is like a zoomie. So it could be a couple of things. It could be she's tired of going, like, let's go to bed here. You know? Like when you tell that to your little kid. It could be that she needs to go out, and you can try and take her out and see if that's it. If it's not, is there water? I always check the basic potty, water, food
Right.
first. Is she just, and she's in pain? But if it's happening regularly, I'm guessing it's like, it's totally like that zoomy burst of energy is my first thought. So usually I would say before it gets to that time, so at 9 maybe, take her, do you have a fence?
She won't. No, we're in a townhouse.
Okay.
We don't have a yard.
Okay, I would take her out at 9, and I would try and exercise her before to prevent that from happening. Because if she comes up and paws and you don't respond, and then she starts mouthing and then you respond, she's going, oh, well the pawing doesn't work, so I should just go straight to mouthing. So now we've taught her to mouth you for attention. See?
Yeah.
Whereas if you respond with the paw, the good thing is all you're going to have is a paw. But it's still responding to that. And I mean, if that doesn't bother you, then whatever, that's fine. She's not being a jerk. She's trying to communicate. She can't speak English, so
Right.
she's trying, you know. I would take her out before that point, get her tired, then bring her back in, and then I would want to know what she did then.
Okay.
Or put her to bed sooner.
Okay.
I'd probably exercise her about 8:30, take her on a little walk, or just fetch in the house, something. And then I would want to know how it went after that.
Well, my husband does. He plays with her, and she's not sleeping the whole evening, but he does. He throws toys.
Good.
And they play tug of war, and
Yeah.
then she'll settle down. But then every night
She has one last burst, the last word, right?
She does, yeah.
Yeah. I would try a little
It's
bit at
always
night.
on me. It's never on him.
Yeah, of course. Okay, next myth. Growling should be punished. Now, this sounds like common sense that you should get onto your dog, I guess, for growling. Getting onto doesn't work because they don't know what you're saying and they don't speak English, right? So, reinforced or not reinforced, that's kind of what we have, and redirected, right? Growling, let's talk about this. You have this handout. I don't know if you can see it up here, but you have it in the handout. So this is what we call the ladder of aggression, okay? So if you look at the bottom, these are like low-level signs of stress that your dog is saying, I'm uncomfortable with something. I see these tons when kids are interacting with, kissing on, or hugging on dogs. And I see these constantly. I see them in class, too, on the first night when the dogs don't know each other and they don't understand what we're doing. Are we here for shots? Like, who are all these people, these bright lights? I'll see them turning their head away, licking, blinking, yawning, that kind of thing. Some of them will sit and they'll kind of do like this with the foot. And they'll say, oh, she wants to shake, but her ears are back and her eyes are big. And to me, that's not what that is. This is a stress signal, which is like, please don't hurt me. I come in peace. Notice that if you see your dog do that in a stressful situation, like at the vet, they do that a lot. See if you can catch these. Hopefully they're not anxious and you won't see any of them. But so these low-level things, right? And as it goes up, so the dog's tried to turn its head away. That didn't work. It turned its body away. That didn't work. It tried walking away. We're going up the ladder here. The child still is going after the dog who's trying to get away and giving all of these signs. But most people don't know that blinking, flicking their tongue, and yawning are stress signals. Most people don't know that, so they miss that. So it keeps going up, keeps going up. The dog is now creeping and getting low. The ears are back. At this point, with the crouching and the tucked tail, most humans are like, oh, this dog looks nervous. Most trainers would catch this stuff. But your average person isn't going to catch it till way up there, right? And most kids are still not going to know, especially if they're little. So here we go on up the ladder. The dog is laying down with its leg up, it's tapped out, right? The kid is thinking, oh, belly rub! This dog is begging to be left alone at this point. The stiffening and the staring, that's when it starts to get really scary. Growling. Then only two more things up the ladder, snapping and biting. So what happens if you hit your dog every time they growl and they learn not to growl? That means you jump from low to high with no warning. Now, these are lots of warnings, but again, most kids are not going to catch these things, and most people too. So punish the growl, you simply remove the warning. And that's the most clear growl that a child will know, is the most clear warning that they would know is a growl. They won't see that other stuff. So that's very dangerous. So a growl is good in that it is communication that you need to know as the pet owner. Or if you're petting a dog who's not yours, you need to know. I'd much rather have a growl than a dog bite me. Hands down. This happened to me, I've only been bitten once by a dog, and it was 2 punctures to my wrist, which was very frightening. I was putting a harness on him, and he had been previously shocked for growling, and I did not know this. I was putting the harness on him, and my face was right here, and there was no warning, and he just went, and I got my hand up, which is how I got bit, but I'm so glad I had time, because he could have really hurt me. So I guess you could say he took it easy on me because I know he's faster than me and he could have really hurt me. But it was very scary, so punishing growling is not something you want to do. Much rather have a warning. So what do we do when they do growl? Okay, we need to assess the situation and be like, okay, time out, what's happening here? Is it that someone is cornering my dog? Is it that someone is just leaning over my dog? A lot of dogs who are more timid are terrified by that. That's very scary. Imagine a huge giant leaning down at you, and you don't know this giant. It could be that maybe they don't like their feet being touched and someone's touching their feet. It could be that another dog has gotten in their space and they don't like that. Don't punish your dog. Advocate. What can I do to fix this, and what can I do to prevent this next time? If I know that my dog growls when dogs get within 3 feet of it, I'm going to make sure that when I go in public places, I have some treats to redirect and get his attention away, that I have a really good come, let's go, leash walking. I'm going to make sure that I have 360-degree awareness around me at all times, so I'm fully aware of who's coming up to me and when. I'm going to also need to be fully aware if there are any off-leash dogs. Meredith and I can't walk our dogs in our own neighborhood. There are so many off-leash dogs. We literally have to drive somewhere else, both of us. So I need to be thinking about that, scoping out places where I can go walk. If someone comes up and goes, oh, the puppy, I'm going to put myself in, oh, sorry, she doesn't feel good today. Would you toss her this treat? I bet she would like that. So then I'm pairing this scary thing with something good that my dog likes. Great teachable opportunity. I could just walk away too, though. But I'm honoring how my dog feels and letting them know that I hear you and I'm going to take care of this. You don't need to take care of it. If they feel like they have to take care of it, it's going to go real bad. Okay? So we should never push them to that point. All right. Let's talk about body language. I love to talk about body language of dogs. What do you see? Somebody say it. A wagging tail. Most people see a wagging tail and they think, well, that's a friendly dog, kids especially. But what do you see now? Does this dog look like he wants to be petted? I would say no. Why do you say no?
His stance, his stare, like a stare.
Yeah, his eyes are really big. You can see that crescent moon is how I teach the kids in their eyes. His stance, it's very forward and alert, right? If he was a dog who had pointy ears, I guarantee you those satellite dishes would be like straight forward like a shepherd, right? His tail is up really high in this picture, right? So that's the thing too. It's like a wagging tail that all of a sudden gets still, that would concern me. A wagging tail that's high would concern me. A wagging tail that's tucked really tight would concern me for different reasons, okay? So just because it's wagging doesn't mean it's a friendly dog. If you see a loose wag like this and the whole body is like this, this is probably a dog that's going to be okay with that. But if you have a tucked tail and it's wagging and the dog is like, I don't know, I kind of want to go see it, but I'm not sure, that's the dog you want to toss a treat to instead. And this, you want to get the heck out of there, like right now. Do not let your dog go to that dog. So when people ask if their dog can greet your dog on a leash, you need to look at the other dog and your dog. What's the tail doing? What's the posture? Is it forward, kind of aggressive, alert, or overexcited? Is it, oh, I don't really know about this? So that's another way you can advocate is for your dog and the other dog to say, no, she seemed overwhelmed by that dog. He's a lot bigger than her. He's a lot more excitable than her. That's probably not a dog I'm going to greet on a walk. And you don't have to. People feel like it's being so rude if you don't let your dogs greet. You do not have to. You do not have to. Just move on. A tale can tell a tale. It really can. It does reflect their current kind of environment, what's around them and their mental state. But again, I wouldn't allow it. See the difference of the ears? Sure. All right, any questions before I move on? All right. Another myth is that exposure equals socialization. What do I mean by that? So you get a dog and everybody says it's so important that you get him out and socialize him. But what does that mean? So many people have come to our booth at Fido Fest or Bark in the Park and said, this is my puppy, I got him yesterday. And I'm like, oh God, because it is so overwhelming, those places. You have so many people, you've got baby strollers, you've got music, you've got dogs, you've got kids on bouncy houses. It is too much too quickly. So exposing them doesn't necessarily socialize them. This dog does not look like he wants to be here at all. This could be his feeling about his environment, or it could be the fact that this camera is in his face, or both, right? This is the equivalent of me throwing you here. Pit of snakes, absolutely terrifying for a dog who has not been socialized gradually. I don't want to be there, I know you don't want to be there. Okay, so things we do not want to do. Don't just make it up as you go and fly by the seat of your britches, okay? There's a systematic, scientific way to socialize, believe it or not, which we'll talk about. We don't want to just throw them into overwhelming situations. We definitely cannot take our eyes off of them, because if we're not looking at them, what are we going to miss? What am I going to not be able to see? Body language. Body language. I can't see what he's thinking. His body language is going to show me what he's thinking, what he's feeling. I'm going to miss it if I'm so busy talking to the other person and I'm not looking at my dog. So when I have my dog and I'm talking to someone, I'll be glancing up at them and glancing back to my dog. And it's not to be rude, it's because I want to make sure he's comfortable. Don't expect too much too soon. Again, not the place to take your puppy the first day you got your puppy. Lengthy trips can be really hard because they're really exhausting. And the trigger stacking. Trigger stacking means lots of triggers at the same time. So for example, I was doing a session with a dog who is leash reactive, meaning she barks and lunges in a scary way at dogs on walks. Plays great with them at the dog park, but on a leash, totally different dog. So we were working on this, and we were working on her street, and we had our dog helper, my friend, with her calm dog that I could trust not to bark at this dog. And as we started, a house down the road had the trash truck come up. And this house down here had the lawn guys come. And needless to say, that was trigger stacking for her. It was too much. So we went inside and we waited a bit, and then we did it again with less triggers. So the longer the trip, the more triggers they're going to see. And again, due day, so many endless triggers. That's not what we want. What we want to do is use science, which tells us classical conditioning. When you pair something with something good, this thing becomes a little more exciting. So, for example, my fearful dog who doesn't want someone to pet them, hey, you know what? Would you toss her this treat? This is teaching my dog good things come from this scary lady. And if you keep doing this, you will see the dog go, hey, how are you today? What you got? And that is what we're looking for the dog to build a positive association. It doesn't just have to be food, though. It could be toys, which I'll show you in a second, too. Some things we do at our socialization class for puppies. But again, keeping the eyes on the dog, advocating by saying, you know what? Actually, I think he's nervous right now. Why don't you come check with us in a little bit, and then maybe you can pet him there. Or scooping him up. You know, he's a little overwhelmed. Let the dog set the pace. You don't get to decide the pace. We have some puppies in our puppy class who the first week are like friends with everybody. They want to do all the little play stations and touch all the textures and hear all the sounds, and they can't wait. But most dogs the first week are kind of like, I'm not sure. And they'll try, and they'll take the treat, and they'll be like, oh no, try, okay, maybe that's okay, oh, okay. And it's kind of like that. But then some dogs, it takes to the third week until they get like that. So you don't get to determine the pace, you have to watch the body language. You have to allow your dogs to make choices. You have to allow them to make choices. You can get creative with things that you socialize them with, and your dog does not have to go right up to something to socialize with it, by any means. A group training class where there's 2 other dogs in the room and the room this size, or say there's one over there, one over here, and one over here. If this dog is having fun, getting petted, playing with toys, learning, getting cookies, while seeing that dog, this is a positive socialization experience. It does not mean that they have to physically play with each other to socialize. You're building a positive association. And we just don't want to build a negative one at minimum, right? So if you take your dog and you just flood them by taking them to do all day, and you don't take treats and you don't take toys and you have it go too long, it's either going to be neutral or negative. By adding things that they love, like toys or treats or whatever, you're actually making it positive. My friend has a service dog. She started training him when he was, as soon as she got him, 9 weeks. Socialized the heck out of him. Something that they worked on, because she knew that he would have to go to Walmart with her, was sitting outside of Walmart, and every time the doors would go, he'd get a cookie. He's completely unfazed by those doors. He's very happy to go through them. And she had to get really creative and think about what are all the things that he needs to be okay with. For a service dog, it's a high bar because it's everything. He has to be okay with everything, which is not usually a reasonable expectation for most dogs, which is why most dogs can't do that work, at least not pleasantly and happily. So ways that you can get creative with this. So these are like little floppy sensory discs that go in like kids' chairs. I got them on Amazon for like $10, and they're squishy, and one side has little short nubbies, and one side has little hard nubbies. And just getting them comfortable with different textures on their feet. Textures, movements, and sounds. This is your big three, plus people and dogs, of course. This is Fern and Petrie. They decide to play on them together, and they, of course, when you step on it, it feels funny, but it also moves because it's filled with air. So, and you wouldn't think about, hey, that's something I could use to get my dog comfortable with textures. There's some dogs who flip out at the beach because they've never felt anything like that. We had one of our best students get really panicked. We were doing an outdoor class. We were up at the summit, and most of their stores are dog friendly. I don't know if you knew that. Great socialization opportunity. Take your treats, watch the body language, but go do it. It's really fun. We were walking in, first set of doors, she's fine. It's that little kind of carpeted matting. She's great. Second set of doors, she went to step on that shiny fluoride belt and just hit the deck. She was so scared. And she was such a confident dog, but new textures, shiny floors, something she'd never experienced. So that, that's something you don't really think about. So you could get some tiles and lay them down in the hall and make like a little playground out of it. Okay? Stairs. We have a lot of dogs, 12 weeks, come to obedience, still scared of stairs. These are just like these squishy ones that I found online. I think they're used for like PT for little kids. And I thought, well, let's use that. So we did that. And again, it's not just pulling him up it. He's putting food on each step. And as the dog is comfortable, he'll go. And at first he was nervous, but he did go. And then he did it again and had fun. People wearing weird stuff. Well, we live in the pandemic world of masks. So fortunately, our dogs are not afraid of this. But I can promise you, pre-pandemic, if you just slap a mask on your face, there'd be a lot of dogs who are very afraid because they can't read your face fully because they can't see your whole face. Same with sunglasses or tall hats. Halloween, oh my gosh, trick-or-treaters come. A lot of dogs are terrified of that. The doorbell keeps ringing, but nobody's coming in. That's very frustrating, overstimulating. You got the flashing lights, the big things. If they haven't seen it early in life and had a positive experience with it, they're more likely to be afraid of it later. So that's why we do this baby class for the 8 to 12 weekers, and we expose them to all kinds of things. People carrying a backpack, people with an umbrella, people with sunglasses, people with a coat with a hood, people in boots. I mean, it's endless the things. That's why I say you gotta get creative. This is Parker, he's 9. He helps us once a month with this class and volunteers at the Shelby Humane Society teaching shelter dogs. He's amazing. And he has taught all kinds of stuff in our classes for us. And here he's just getting this puppy comfortable with him, wearing all this stuff. And sand. A dog pool, a kiddie pool, you can do a lot with that. You can put balls in it, get them used to texture and movement. You can do sand, you can do water, just starting with just enough to barely cover the bottom, working up some more, and just make it positive. Any question about that?
We have, both of our dogs, we have a large yard fenced. That's where they go. We don't ever take them anywhere.
Okay.
The biggest problem we have are like if service people come over, they're barking a lot, or even when our friends come over, maybe to be on the deck or something for a cookout,
Mhm.
they will bark a little bit until they get used to the situation, and then they're fine.
Yes, yes.
So should we take them out and socialize them, or?
So, yes and no. So one of my dogs, she doesn't like other dogs. And I've gotten her through training to the point where she can be around them for short periods of time and succeed. But honestly, she doesn't like it, so I just don't take her. And if that's what you choose to do, it's fine. It's
Okay.
totally fine. But if your goal is to be able to have people over, then what you need to practice is having people over, of course, right now.
Yeah.
Pandemic. But I would have them come over and give them something high quality, like not just biscuits or kibble, but I use like a low-fat string cheese. They love it, and it's low-fat. It won't cause pancreatitis like so much human food can. I cut it up in little bits. I would have the person come in and sit first with the dog out of the room. I think a huge trigger is when the dog sees that person come in that door, because they assume the person is coming to them, even though they're not. But they see them come in, and just the sound of that door is such a trigger, sound-wise, you know. They're like, by the time the person comes in, they are so pumped, you know, or scared, or protective. So I think having them out of the room, bring the person in, have the person sit, then bring the dog out. And as soon as the dog sees the person, they're going to start tossing little bits of that cheese. We have had dogs who are extremely fearful within 10 minutes, just like, hey, what you got? Just by doing that. And the more you do it, the better it will go, and they'll start anticipating it and having that positive association. With workers, it's different because you can't just work on it when it happens because like you're not ready, you know. But you could have a friend, put some hats on and some heavy stuff and carry some stuff and toss treats. I mean, that sounds silly, but yo, it works. This is classical conditioning, it's science. And it does work. Me and a friend have put on leprechaun hats and fake beards and backpacks and jogged up and down the road while people treated their dogs. And these dogs have improved. And it feels silly, but it works. It's just positive association. And if they're too afraid that they won't eat, remove them from the situation. And it means that they're too close to the trigger, and we need to be farther away, like maybe in the driveway instead of in the house. Distance is a huge factor in whether your dog is able to succeed based on either fear or just excitability. Distance. Always get more distance if we're not succeeding. Okay. Everybody also says you should put your hand in your dog's food bowl to teach them that it's okay to have your dog's your hands in their bowl in order to avoid aggression. But to me, that just says, I might take your food. I want to give my dog no reason to think I'm ever going to take his food. So for me, that sounds kind of silly. What I have always told people is to walk by your dog's bowl and toss more food in it. Preferably something of a higher value, like a smellier treat that's not kibble, or the low-fat cheese. Wellness makes some really smelly, soft, square treats that are great for this, and they're scored and you can cut them up real small. So walk by, toss the treat, keep going. Walk by, toss the treat, keep going. Walk by, drop the treat a little closer, keep going. So when they're eating and someone comes near, it's like, bonus. Not, are you gonna take that? Are you gonna stick your hand in there? I don't ever want them to think I'm going to do that. They should have no cause for that. Now, proviso, if you have a food aggression problem, don't take my advice, have someone come and work with you in your home. Don't be like, well, she told me to do this, because some dogs, if you walk too close, even tossing, they are still going to come after you, and I don't want that happening. So, have a professional come to your home if you already have this problem. But to prevent it, I think this is a great way. This is another one people say, well, I'll say, we're going to teach drop it today. So whose dog likes to tug so that we can then work on dropping it. And some people say, well, I've never let him tug because I was afraid that it would make him aggressive. A lot of people think this. I guess there would be some dogs where this could be true. But in my experience, tugging is a natural reward. It doesn't have to be food. That's what I tell people all the time. If your dog loves a Frisbee, toss a Frisbee after they stay or come or do whatever. It's stress relieving. It relieves anxiety. I had a white boxer come to class, wouldn't take any food. We just tried kind of massaging him over to the side, He started to calm down a little bit, still wouldn't take any food. Brought out a toy, different dog. He was playing, then he started sitting, and then he started taking the food. It completely changed his outlook. It's enrichment, it's physical exercise, it's stimulating mentally and physically, it's challenging, it's fun. This is a great game to play with dogs, especially your working dogs, your border collies, your Aussies. Poodles, doodles. People don't think about doodles being working dogs. That's half poodle, that's a working dog. Some doodles are much driverier than others. Anybody here have a doodle? Okay. More and more I'm using toys with doodles because of that. You can pair the tug with fetch. We fetch the thing, we bring it back, we tug, we say drop, great, we're gonna throw it again. Now you've got exercise. On a rainy day, you can do this down your hallway if you can't go on a walk. So, great thing to do. It also gives your dog something acceptable to put their mouth on. Because pretty much we expect them to not put their mouth on 99.9% of the things in Iowa. Probably not really fair when you think about it. And when you first come home, especially if you've got that velociraptor age of dog, they're going to run up to you and they're going to want to jump, and then they're going to put their mouth on you and they're going to grab your clothes and do this number. You're nodding, yep. You got all of this. I had a student, Ricky, one of my favorite students, this very, very intense pit mix, Marley, and every time he would come home, she would be like wham all over him. So 2 things I said he can do: have the dog tethered, have his wife hold the leash when he comes in, or keep a tug toy in his car, and every time he comes in, put it down and let her tug on it. It's like a miracle. Works great for them. So every time he would come in, he'd go boom, and he would just tug with her. She'd get it all out of her system. But when they're that excited, they have to put their mouth on something. It's like how babies have to teeth. When they're excited, they're gonna put their mouth on something. So either it's gonna be you, or you can have something else. And that's kind of like preventing and managing. He's preventing by making sure he has something, and then managing it by putting it in her mouth. And then she has it out of her system, and it's that. So they need to have something they can put their mouth on. And a lot of people will have bones all over the house, and they'll be like, he doesn't want any of these bones. Who's had this happen? Really? Usually there's somebody who says that. They have lots of toys, and he doesn't want his toys. He only wants my whatever. If the toys are down all the time, they just kind of become part of the scenery, and they're not very interesting. But if you rotate your toys out, you have your Monday, Tuesday toys, you have your Wednesday, Thursday toys, you have your Friday, Saturday toys, your Sunday bones, they're going to be more interesting. Pull them up at the end of the day. This is not some kind of, I'm the alpha, so I should present the toy to you on a daily basis. This is just, it's not interesting because it's been down there for 3 weeks. Take it away, bring it back. It'll be more interesting. Give them something to put their mouth on. Redirect them to it when you need them to. If they become overstimulated with tugging, I would do shorter bursts of tug instead of longer bursts where they just keep going up, in which case teaching drop it is crucial. It's one of the first things you really need to teach a dog, and we teach it in our baby puppy class because, I mean, they're going to put their mouth on everything, and nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to have some sock under the couch that they missed, and for safety's sake, they need to know it, right? Drop teaches great impulse control. You can tug, 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 drop. When you spit out, hey, you might get it back, or you might get a treat and get it back. This is my guy. This is Jacques. This was taken, I guess, 2 years ago, so he was probably almost 14. We are going to be tugging and then dropping, and he's gotten really good at this.
Ready? Get him. Drop. Take it. Get him, get him. Drop. Take it. Ready. Oh, drop. Take it. Oh, you almost went for it there. Get him. Oh. Get him. Oh, shoo.
That's excellent.
You know, it didn't take that long to work on it with him because he realized the quicker I spit it out, the quicker I get it back. And he really, really, really wanted it back. So when I first started teaching it, I would be tugging, and then I would hold it really, really still. And if it was a big dog, you'd have to like brace it, right? Hold it as still as possible. And they'll tug it a couple times, and when it doesn't go anywhere, they'll get bored and spit it out, and you go take it, and you give it back. You do this again and again and again and again. We do this in class. When they get quick about letting it go, when you brace it, you add the word drop. So you go drop, and they do, and you go take it, and tug, tug, drop, and they do, take it. Pairing the word with the action. If you just go drop, 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 and they're not dropping it, they're not learning what it means. You don't add the word until they're doing it. That way you're pairing the word with the action, teaching them this action equals this word. So you add the word drop when they are spitting it pretty quickly once you've braced it. And then, once they understand what it means, you're tugging, and you go drop, and if they really know it, you can keep wiggling it. I'll do that with him, and he'll be like, and I'll go, take it, and he's like, bam. So it works. It's just probably took a few weeks, probably 3 weeks. Younger dogs in some ways can learn faster than older dogs because they're sponges, but then you have the ADD kind of stuff too to trade off. All right, the S word is the last thing. It's not the S word you're thinking about. This is the one everybody says, usually on the first week when I ask them to describe their dogs. Nobody said it tonight. Thank you. It's stubborn. My dog is so stubborn. He's not stubborn. Your expectations are unrealistic given the situation, the age, and the training experience of your dog. How old is the dog? My mail lady this week, yesterday, said, oh, I saw your car. Can I have a flyer? She said, I have a husky. He won't come to me. He gets out the front door, and our neighbor has a loose dog, and they're playing, and he will not come. I said, well, how old is he? She's 7 months. Okay. How much training have you done? Not really any. Okay, unrealistic expectations. Does the cue have a meaning? Does this dog know that come equals run to you? The only way you can teach them that come means run to you is to say it as they run to you, over and over, which is how we teach it in class, which you guys will see. And then they can understand it. Like with drop, I'm not saying it when he's not doing it, I'm saying it as he does it. So that later I can say it in anticipation of him doing it, okay? Is everyone in the family using the same cue, saying it the same way? What about the timing, okay? So when we teach leave it in class, we have a treat in our hand, and if the dog goes for it, we shut it. If they back up, we open it. And eventually they realize this isn't working. If I stay back here, it stays open, and then I get it. So what happens is, if the timing is good, and every time he goes in, it's shut, and every time he backs up, it opens, he's understanding this doesn't work, this works. But if the timing of the owner is off, and it goes like this, he doesn't know what's happening here. He doesn't understand that his choice to do this made it come back. So our timing is a huge part of it, which is why we spend so much time training the owners, okay? Distractions. Is there something moving in the environment? Has your dog ever successfully done that cue with something moving in the environment? If no, then no, he's not going to do it. He's not being stubborn. He just isn't ready to perform at that level. Everybody wants a dog who they can say stay, and a perfect stranger can come and pet the dog. Everybody comes into like week 1 wanting this so bad. Level 3 dogs are still working on that because it's so hard to prevent them jumping on people who go, it's okay. It's always something that's reinforcing it. Even if you don't pet the dog, if they get to go, woohoo, that's fun to them. Jumping is naturally reinforced, so it's really hard. It takes a long time. So no, your 4-month-old dog is not going to sit and stay while someone pets them, but what is reasonable is to let them lick a treat and stand there with all 4 on the ground while someone pets them. We do that in class all the time. It works great. If this treat is good enough and if they're not afraid, okay? So it's not that he's not stubborn, it's that you're asking too much too soon given the age or the level of experience with training with distractions. Think about how many triggers. Is this something anxious? Is there a smell? Is there a sound? Seeing someone walk and seeing someone walk and bouncing a basketball, difference in difficulty. The second one's harder. Then how close is it? Is it 10 feet? Is it 100 feet? A dog who can handle that at 100 feet may not be able to handle that at 80 feet. Until you've practiced it, you can't expect him to do it. So it's baby steps all the way. Your dog is not trying to piss you off. He just doesn't know what you want because you're not clear, or your cues are different from person to person, or he's just not been trained to do that at that level just yet. Doesn't mean he can't. It just means you can't rush him. share what you know. I really, really hope that you will take what you've learned tonight and apply it and learn more about it. Start working with your own dogs. Tell a friend. Be like, hey, do you know that hierarchy is fluid? And they'll go, what are you on? And they'll say, no, listen, let me tell you about this. I love to educate people. Like I said, I was a teacher. I taught kids. I loved it. I think sharing what you know is so important. It's why I love to train other trainers to work for us, because then I get to teach them, and then they get to go teach people, and they get to go teach people, and it just goes on and on. So, hope that it was interesting for you. Does anybody have a question?
I do.
Yes.
Sophie follows me everywhere I go. Is that normal? I mean, in the house.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's abnormal. Does she seem anxious if you are not there?
She seems fine when we're not there.
Okay.
But she always has to have an eye on me. Always.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
I don't think it's abnormal at all. There's two of you, and she's the only dog? Yeah, I don't think that's abnormal.
Okay.
No, I would say it's abnormal if it's causing her anxiety when you're not there. You know, it's kind of like, like I was the little kid who constantly needed attention. I was not going to ride quietly in the car to grandma's. I was going to talk the whole time and constantly need my mom's attention. My husband was like the opposite kind of kid. He was happy to just go leave alone and have a book. I think it's just a difference, like personality. She wants to see what's up. She doesn't want to miss any fun.
Yeah, she seems very happy.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I just want, it doesn't bother
Yeah,
me.
that's a good question. And people will ask me too, like, not necessarily like, is this normal, but they'll say, is it okay if I let my dog do X, Y, Z? And they'll cringe as they say it, like they're afraid I'm gonna be upset or judge them. They say, is it okay if she sleeps on the bed? And they'll say it real quiet. I'll say, yes, my dog sleeps on the bed every day. It's only a problem if it's a problem for you or it endangers the safety of a dog or a person. So big dog jumping is a problem because it could endanger the safety of a dog or a person. A little dog jumping may not be a problem for you. May not be a problem at all. My little tiny guy, he heals beautifully. But I didn't work on that until he got older and I was a dog trainer and I wanted to have a dog who healed well to demonstrate things. When he was young, I didn't work on that hardly at all because he's not gonna pull me down. We spent time on don't dash through the door and come and leave it and drop it. That's the stuff we spent time on. So I always say, spend time on the stuff that matters to you and it keeps everybody safe. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. What's the best way to train him to ride in the car?
Oh, to
Right
ride in-
now, I frighten him.
Okay.
Because he just can't be still. Because
Okay.
he's a puppy.
Does he do okay in there?
Yeah, he'll do fine.
Good.
He
He
doesn't
won't
cry.
be still.
Yeah, I think the crate is a great way, especially because you can cover it.
Yeah.
Like one of my dogs, she's afraid of windshield wipers, like so afraid. She's still afraid to this day. So I have to cover hers. But I think it's helpful too because I have a lot of students whose dogs will throw up on the way to class. And I've been told, this is unscientific, I've just been told this and I found it to be true. If you cover the crate and they aren't looking out the side window while there's stuff going by, that they don't get sick as easily. Could be totally bogus, but it's what I've experienced. Plus, that way, A, they're not falling off the seat or flying out the front window if you have an accident, obviously, but you can give them something in there, like a bone or a Kong or something that has something edible. And if you do like stuff a Kong with something, freeze it so it lasts the whole ride. Not slurp, okay, what else do you got? That way, if there's something yummy, they can settle down and eat it, and they're not like, whoa, you know. I do like the crate. You can do the seatbelt clip harnesses
I've
too.
done that, but he took it, it was
I
a
do
puller,
that.
he's a puller, and it came loose.
Yeah, I think the crate's safest. And you can just do, start with like, can you drive around the block and back successfully? And if so, okay, can we drive around the block and the next road successfully? Those dogs who get sick or are anxious in the car, I always say literally, if all you can do is back down the driveway and come back up and give them a treat, start there and build up.
What if they cry the whole time?
So again, I would say experiment with something else to put in the Kong. Some people will have another person sit in the back seat with the dogs
I've tried that.
and pet on them. Usually it goes away though. Usually they do that when they're younger. And then if it's really severe, you would see your veterinarian about prescriptions, which will make them tired. But yeah. You guys have any more questions?
No, our oldest one, the lab pit, she gets in the floorboard in the back. But the other one won't look out the window. She will not look out the window, right?
Yeah.
Not that we do it a lot. Like I said, they're in the backyard most of the time.
I feel you. My Ringo, ooh, it was very rough in the car. He was very anxious.
Well, he's fine in the car, is the other code.
That's good. We do, for little dogs, I really like a booster seat. Mine do great in their booster seats. They have their own. My little guy, he just settles down and sleeps in it now that he's older. The other one, the female, she kind of tap dances in it like this. She can't go anywhere because she's hooked, but she's tap dancing in her booster seat. And then finally she'll get tired and stop. But I think she likes being able to see what's going on. It doesn't make her sick. If it did, I'd go to the crate and cover. But I like that for the little guys. Just kind of try different things sometimes.
The biggest problem we have getting them to come to us is when there's deer or chipmunks that has to get attention.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of that can be, and I'm not like, I hate lumping breeds in and saying, well, this breed is like this. But like, if you have terriers, and you said pit bull mix,
Pit bull, she's a bull, lab mix.
okay. Like any kind of terrier, I've never met a terrier who is not just like, I must catch and kill that with rodents. I mean, it's just so in their DNA, it's so hard not to. That would just be a matter of training a solid leave it and a solid come inside with no distractions. Then can you do it outside with limited distractions? And can you do it on a 30-foot line where you're way over there and I'm way over here with limited distractions and working up? We actually have a toy that looks like a squirrel on a string with a stick. In our impulse control class that we have them go settle on their mat and leave the squirrel. But again, like you're fighting DNA too, genetics, so. But
It amazes me that they're able to tell there are deer behind our fence, way up behind our fence from sitting in the house.
Maybe asleep.
Scent. I mean, they just.
that is amazing. They're hearing something. You can't hear anything, probably. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I hope that you found this interesting or helpful in some way. I know they're going to ask y'all for feedback. I don't know if there's like a form or what that y'all do, but if they email you, please give me feedback. I want your feedback.
Sure.
We want y'all to enjoy these. And if you want to come see Anthony talk about leash walking, February 28th at 2, it's Sunday afternoons. So you can sign up and come hear him talk about that. And then in, I think it's April, Meredith will be doing one on reactivity, which is barking, lunging, pulling at dogs on walks or through the window or at other dogs, people. That's going to be a really good one too. It'll be great.
One quick question. On leash walking, I know he's a puppy, but the puppies do, he wants to smell everything. And I'll let him smell stuff for a little bit.
Don't let him pull you to it. But yes, he should get to smell, but not being rewarded with the pulling.
Right.
So if my computer is a patch of grass that my dog wants to smell, and I've got him here and he's lunging toward that, I'm going to reach out, put the food on his nose, get him a little farther away, far enough that he can watch me. And then I'm going to go sniff. I'm going to walk up and I'm going to let him sniff it. I'm not going to let him pull me to it. And he probably won't sniff everything he wants to sniff. But I think it's important that you do like 2 or 3 minutes of walking, 2 or 3 minutes of sniffing. Because what they enjoy a walk for is not what we enjoy a walk for. We have very different ideas about what an enjoyable walk is. And I think they should get to sniff stuff too. We never let them sniff anything, you know? It's important to do that. But it should be like not rewarding the pulling. Well, if y'all have other questions, feel free to come up. And otherwise, thank you for coming. I hope it was fun for y'all. Thank you for taking time out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.